What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Surrey Stingers. Hopefully the background music is at a good volume. It's feeling a little bit loud to me, so I might just actually lower the desktop audio in OBS. Hopefully that helps. So this is our season recap for PTL Season 2 in Division 2. I won't spoil the result of it if you haven't seen the championship match, but I will spoil that I played in the finals match. So enjoy that. And well, sorry, I will spoil it, but at the end of the video. So if you haven't seen the championship match, I would go check that out before watching this. Otherwise, let's sort of run through stuff. And I had a couple points here. I'll go through the normal season recap stuff. Then I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the reasons why I'm not returning to PTL in Season 3. They've actually already started drafting for PTL Season 3, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not returning is because they kind of just hop in really quickly. They're super eager, which is like great, but it's not feasible. It's not feasible, especially with my schedule. I've already got 5 other leagues going on right now. Like I don't have time to continue with PTL. If they had taken a break, then maybe. But it's too much too quickly for me. One thing that was kind of nice actually is that they reduced themselves down to 12 coaches per division next season. So I was looking forward to maybe coming back and getting kind of a more broken draft. With 12 people, there's a lot less opportunities for snipes. So that was kind of what I was hoping for, but may not have ended up working out or not. Either way, we would have been promoted to Division 1 if I was returning. And so I can have that in my mind because I did start at the bottom in Division 3, and my goal was to work my way up to Division 1. So we did that, and that was enough. I didn't need to win Division 1. I just wanted to work up to Division 1. So I did bring in my Surrey Stingers franchise. This is not a franchise that I've used very often. It's like brand new as of beginning of 2019. I used it in GSA. In GSA Minors and in PTL Division 2, and now I'm going to use it again in Nepal Season 5. So it's pretty fresh. It's not as underused as Kelowna Crocodiles, which I've only used for a single season. LET Season 3, I think, was the only season that I ran Kelowna Crocodiles. Maybe it was Season 2. Can't even remember. One of them. It got really confusing having 2 team names, and it is still really confusing. I screwed up a bunch of the intros for this season, saying I was coach of the Ladder Lantern when I'm the Surrey Stingers in this. But big shout outs to Jed, my good pal Jed. He's a really good friend, and he's made both of my logos at this point. Well, sorry, he redesigned the Ladder Lantern one to one that I'm very happy with currently, and he made this Surrey Stingers logo for me, which I think is really sick. I was in a Mega Beedrill mood, and it's still my favorite Mega to use, and ended up getting this. So maybe one of these days I'll have a Mimikyu logo. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I still love me some Ladder Lantern. So let's get right into things here. So this is my draft analysis. We'll just start here, sort of talk about the team and the order that I took it. I took Megalopony first. Megalopony was fucking amazing for me this season. Spawn was so good. It actually turns out that all of, I believe it was all the number 1 seeds had Megalopony on them. No, that can't be right. Not all the number 1 seeds, but all 3 of the finals had a Megalopony in them, I guess, is the idea. Because Cam, I don't know what seed Cam was in D1, but Cam had it, I had it, and Lux had it in D3. And they were all in the finals. Megalopony is really solid. I'm not entirely sure if Cam brought it in the finals. I didn't bring mine in the finals, so I'm not sure. Clefable, I didn't use super duper well. I'm using it currently, well, you guys will see that I'm using it currently in red. That season's actually over. I've finished that season, and so it's just post-uploading because PTL was taking a while. So I decided to upload red after the fact rather than having 3 upload leagues at the same time, which I kind of made an exception for with AABL and PTL, just because PTL was in playoffs already when AABL was starting, so I didn't really have a problem with fuck, this still feels really loud. I'm just going to turn it down even more for you guys. There we go. Clefable, so you guys will see it in action in red, and since I'm done my red season, once I get to the compiled statistics, I haven't put in my red statistics yet. I'll be doing that once I'm done recording this video, because I needed to have it fresh. I didn't want you guys to see my red stats and sort of spoil what might have happened or not. when I had PTL stuff that's more fresh and current that you guys would be seeing. So that's that. So Clefable, it was a really solid fairy pick. I think it caused a lot of over prep. People were forced to bring like steel and fairy moves, otherwise they just can't break Clefable. Ended up being kind of bad. To an extent, it was kind of bad. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Like, it's broken and it'll get up rocks every time, but besides that, I was really struggling to find workable sets with it. There were a couple of instances where I felt like I had a really solid set, and then it got cucked by prep from the other coach, and I don't know, it's not what I would have wanted to see out of a Clefable. Jirachi heavily underperformed until the finals match, where it shone a little bit as a star. It's a little star here. Um, it shone in the finals, but it was pretty shit the rest of the season. It got 2 kills in the entire season. It came to like 8 games or something. Rose Raid was really cool. I really enjoyed Rose Raid. Spike stack and whatnot, like the hazard support that Rose Raid offered my team was so crucial this entire season. Getting up spikes and T spikes was like, especially in finals, it actually got I guess this is spoiling finals now, so go watch finals. This came to finals. It got 2 T-Spike kills in finals, which is really solid. I love that. Lots of hazard support. Reiko was heavily underperformer, really performed in semifinals though, so I was really glad that I grabbed it. Blastoise was really consistent. I didn't expect much out of it because it's like a bulky water with no recovery, and so I was expecting to have to like wish pass from Clefable into it all the time, or Clefable or Jirachi into it all the time, but it was actually really solid. Like, it doesn't need the recovery all that much. It kind of just can sponge hits. I probably would have preferred, I love the hazard support of Rose Raid, but I probably would have just preferred Amoonguss and maybe like Greninja instead as the water, and then have like a grass sponge and a hazard sending water. Braviary, it was okay in the games that it came to. It wasn't fantastic for me. Again, this is sort of when I was drafting this team, it's the same time as my GSA team. So this PTL season lasted forever. It was like 4 months, almost 5 months or something silly. Man, because we drafted 1 billion years ago. We waited forever with the draft, and that's again one of the reasons. I've got it on my front office here. Was my timeline for PTL. So the first matches started January 27th, and then finals was May 25th. So it was 4 months of battles, but I believe we had an entire month between drafting, because we drafted at like the end of PTL Season 1 is when we started drafting for PTL Season 2. And we took like, I want to say it was an entire month, but it couldn't have been an entire month, could it? It might have been an entire month where maybe it's 3 weeks, something like that. It was a long time because I was drafting for GSA at the same time. So that's kind of why Braviary was on the team. It's a really solid Pokemon, really solid Scarfer. Probably wouldn't have taken it if I were to look back at the team maybe in the past. I probably would have looked at something different maybe. I also probably wouldn't have blown all my budget on Clefable Jirachi because I ended up not liking either of them as much as I would have liked to. Mega Lopunny was really solid though. Drapion didn't stay on the team very long, but it was pretty useful when it did. It actually went 2-3 this season in 3 games. It ended up being a pretty solid way to break through Cresselia in my week 1 game, which was solid. It was kind of like a Necrozma stopgap in my week 3 game against Gremlin, but it didn't end up doing all that much, and I don't regret dropping it. I didn't need the extra T-Spike support. It was pretty irrelevant as a second poison, and it opened up my ground weakness a little bit more than Rose Raid did, I guess. The dark typing would have been nice to retain, but it wasn't super duper necessary, I guess is what you could say. Golurk, oh man, what a budget Pokemon, dude. This is insane to me. And actually, Shade linked me to... So Shade, my good pal Shade, is helping out Twigs in the next season. And he linked me the price stock, because I was curious about what the prices were and what they might have changed. So let me just pull this up, because I think they lowered the price of Golurk next season, and I think that that's hilarious because I was the only one who drafted Golurk this season. Out of all 3 divisions, I was the only one who drafted Golurk, and it went 11-1 in the regular season. So, yep, they dropped it to 5 points. So I got it for 7. it smashed people, and then they dropped it 2 points. So that's really strange to me. I don't understand that logic whatsoever. That's really flawed logic to me. Uh, it doesn't make sense to lower the price when it's just performed, unless their reasoning is that because I'm not returning, it doesn't hold any value because no one else drafted it. That would be the only thing I can think of in terms of justifying Golurk dropping like that. That's so weird. I took Salamence later on into the draft. I needed a dragon, and it was kind of still there. Um, I hate using this Pokemon. Like, I really genuinely hate using this Pokemon. I don't think it's fun at all to use Salamence, and so I ended up trading it. Thank God for the real dragon that I wanted, which was Garchomp. Shoutouts to Arky for actually accepting that trade after taking over for Bub. And hashtag screw Bub for sniping me on the Garchomp, because I was going to get round 4 Garchomp. It would have been possible for me to get round 4 Garchomp. I was looking at Megalopony, Clef, Jirachi, Garchomp, Suicune, Roserade. That was kind of going to be the core of my team, and that would have been really fat and really annoying. Salamence is definitely, I've used Garchomp a lot. At one point here, while PTL and Red were running at the same time, I had Garchomp in 4 leagues at the same time. In Red, PTL, WPL, and NCL when they were all running at the same time at the beginning of the NCL season. And I'm enjoying Garchomp, but I think I'm past that phase. So Salamence was kind of a nice change for the little while that I had it. And then I kind of memed a little bit with my last pick and took Heatmore. It's actually got some really good coverage options. It's got decent stats. The problem is the speed. The problem really is the speed. I do think Heatmore could be better if it was faster. Because I thought about bringing like Scarf Heatmore a couple times when it was on the team still, because it did have a couple of good matchups, and it came to one game, got a kill and got a death. Not much more you can ask really from it. In terms of a 2-point mon, going 1-1, and then ended up being pretty clutch because it paralyzed the Starmie. It was like analytic Starmie or something too, so it was like a perma paralysis in my week 4 match against Spanik. My Z users were Menstrapion and Heatmore. Have to admit, I'm not a fan of Z points or anything like that. I'm a much bigger fan of OpenZ. Like, I can understand the justification for like determining Z users and whatnot. I don't know. I like the freedom of building with Z on potentially anything. The way around that is in terms of like if you're drafting with Z points or whatever, just draft like 3 mons or whatever that are good with Z. And so you just avoid the scenario entirely where you want to run like Z Golurk because I couldn't afford it. And I didn't even want Z Drapion, but I knew I needed Z Salamence, and I'm like, okay, where else do I spend my points? Because I couldn't afford Z Salamence with Jirachi or Raikou, which would have been the only other mons that I would have potentially run Z on, and Z Jirachi is probably not a set that I would run. So it's probably like Salamence Raikou that I wanted to run, but that was 2 points over the budget, so there was like nothing I could do there, and I didn't want to run Z Roserade. I could have hit 30 with Mence Roserade, but I didn't want to do it, and that would have really fucked me over once I'd got Garchomp. Or, sorry, it actually wouldn't have, because Garchomp was cheaper than Salamence for some reason, which is super whack, and I still defend that argument. I had no idea why Salamence was 17 and Garchomp was 16. The justification that I got was really poor justification from it was unjustified that Salamence was 17 and Garchomp was 16. Garchomp is 100% objectively the better dragon. There's no doubt in any sane player's mind that that is the case. Rocks are so much more valuable than Dragonance when Ice Shard runs around everywhere, HP Ice runs around everywhere. Garchomp's also weak to those, but I value a Swords Dance more than a Dragon Dance. And I don't have to give up my ability to get +2. Is essentially what it comes down to. So that's why I valued Garchomp a little bit more. So let's run through the doc a little bit here. I'm not sure what exactly you guys will be able to see here, but let's run through the coaches then here. So Moki ended up changing his name later on in the season. He didn't make playoffs. Blood didn't make playoffs. Joey is competing in NCL Blitzel. Super cool dude. He also did not make playoffs. Brett did make playoffs. Brett's a cool guy. Shoutouts to Brett on his recovery. I'm not going to speak publicly about it because it's not my business, right? It's his medical thing. But Brett's a super cool dude, and definitely wishing him the best, especially now that I've talked to him a little bit about his recovery. Arky took over for Bub and didn't make playoffs. Brandon didn't make playoffs. Eric took over for Spanik and didn't make playoffs. I believe he won a single game, but it was an FF after picking up for Spanik. Dolphin didn't make playoffs. Necro didn't make playoffs. Big shout outs to Necro as well. He's also playing NCL Blitzel. Good friend of mine. Ellie, shouts to her for coming back, but that's something that I'll talk about near the end. She made playoffs, and obviously we played her in semis. Gremlin, big shoutouts to Gremlin, super cool dude, and really, really impressed with his performance this season. Despite how close the finals was, I absolutely hold no grudges in terms of that match. My goal was to hack him to death, and I didn't quite get there. I was really close to getting there, but I should be the one feeling bad about trying to hack. If I had won, I would have felt really bad about hacking him to death. David Ryan had a big argument with me at the beginning of the season about Dynamic Punch Golurk, and he was right. I didn't bring it. I didn't bring it a single time. But Dynamic Punch ban is stupid, and I stand by that. I brought it up to a lot of other people outside of the league, and they were kind of scratching their heads and saying, why would you ban Dynamic Punch? Like, I can get the logic behind banning Confusion, but it's part of the game, and there are some mechanics you can ban and people won't complain. That was one that I absolutely did complain about because it was silly, and I don't know. It wasn't going to stop me from drafting Golurk. It didn't stop Golurk from being successful, but it was a strategy that I could have used and that people may have had to prep for. I don't know. I'm not sure. He had a good season, though. We barely beat him out for first seed. He played really well. Sacred, nice ult, by the way, Casper. Just chilling there, not making playoffs. Trog did make playoffs after our week 1 match, and Will did not make playoffs. So that's what the pricing looked like for last season. Megalodius Lele, in comparison with the next season's pricing that I have access for, they added Aegislash up here in 20 points, which is very justified. I think even if there is no Z on Aegislash or Lele, they're definitely a 20-point Pokemon. I would argue that Mega Mawile is potentially a 20-point mon, but that's maybe up to some people. Deoxys Defense now slots in here at 19 points. It's kind of bad, so I don't know. It's probably 18 points. Deoxys Defense at 19 points is just like really bad. it's a bad Pokemon in the first place, and then slotting in at 19 is just yikes. I would never spend 19 points on a bulky Psychic. Like, that's just so counterintuitive. I don't know. Maybe if you count Mew as a bulky Psychic, I'm not sure, but I'd also maybe move Mew down to 18, but that's kind of all there is to here. I'm not going to go super in depth with all this stuff. It's just the draft page and the standings. So we ended up finishing first in the regular season, 10-2 plus 22. We went on a nice 9-win streak after losing to Gremlin in week 3. We started off 1-2 and then won the last 9 games in our season, which was really solid. David just barely missed out on the first seed, 9-3, and then Gremlin 8-4 plus 23. That's a really good differential. Ellie made playoffs. Brett made playoffs. Brandon got disqualified because he had people subbing in for him, so Trog ended up taking that 6th seed. Perfectly fine, honestly. Everyone else didn't make playoffs, and it was a relatively disappointing season for all of them. I don't know. Do I need to go more into that? Not really. Fixtures, MVP race. So I don't know how updated this is, but Megalopony ended up finishing 4th in kills with 16, which is really solid. It came to 10 games. That was all 10 of the games in the regular season that I played. I got 2 FF wins. So of the 10 games that I actually played, of the 12 total, it got 16 kills, which is really good. I was very happy with Megalopony's performance. Golurk sneaking into the top 15, 11-1 in 4 games. This is like the most impressive thing to me out of the entire season is how well Golurk just snuck its way in there. My next highest thing is probably like Roserade, pretty low down. Yeah, 50th Roserade. So I didn't have a great season in terms of kill leaders, but it was a really consistent season. So now we'll just take a look at my team page here. This is how everything broke down and how everything went. So obviously I was at -4. And then pulled it all the way back. I didn't get a single 6-0 this season, and I didn't get 6-0'd, unlike last season where I believe I had at least 1, if not 2 6-0s against people. pretty solid. I ended up dropping Chandelure. Sorry, I dropped Drapion and Heatmore for Chandelure mid-season. That was really solid. And I traded Salamence for Garchomp. Obviously, Garchomp went 3-5 in 7 games. Um, it was a rocker for the team mainly, and it ended up getting a couple kills in my semis match, so I was okay with that. Shandy put on a lot of offensive pressure, a lot of especially offensive pressure because Raikou wasn't really pulling the weight, and I didn't feel like I could bring Raikou to a lot of games. I probably would have preferred like a Zeraora on this team, honestly, like a physical electric instead of a special electric. But us having a special fire on the team was really important to help out Jirachi in particular. I think that was struggling. Jirachi obviously going 2-7. One of those kills being from Stealth Rocks. It's kind of unfortunate. Both of my passive kills in the regular season were from Stealth Rocks, and then I ended up getting 2 more in finals with T-Spikes from Roserade. So big hazard support there. I took notes on all these games, but just sort of run through each match in terms of my prep doc here. So if you've never seen my prep doc, this is what it's going to look like once it loads. There we go. I have both sides with their base speeds and their max speeds. Obviously, this league is level 50, so it's kind of annoying that it's trying to emulate Wi-Fi in that sense because I've memorized a lot of the base speeds, like the max speeds that they can hit for level 100, and so I don't know them for level 50. So I had to. It's a lot more work to build my prep doc that way. I've got the sprites of all the mons because I'm a visual. I like the visual representation, and then I lay out the priority, the hazard setters, removers, 4x weaknesses, what I'm speed creeping, the week that it's happening. Oh, okay. So we finished the draft on January 11th then, and then we had between the 11th and the 10th to play. And then I lay out the time that I play the match just because it helps me organize. I have all my prep docs on my other monitor, and that's what I'm reading off of in the team builders. And I order them in the order that I have the games to play that week, just so that it helps me understand all that. So if it's in green, it means it came to the match. If it's in yellow, it means I expected it. If it's in orange, it means I didn't expect it. Obviously, we took on Trog week 1. This is a really tight match. I've got the teams pulled up here as well. This is a really tight match. I brought lefties Jirachi. This got a Toxic off on something. It was kind of designed to deal with Cresselia. Blastoise was an Assault Vest set. It was my Landorus answer. Mega Lopunny, I ended up like avoiding a scenario where he was able to protect with Mega Steelix, and we just bopped that thing, which is great. It was a really good start to Mega Lopunny season. Scarf Roserade did something. It won the game for me, I think, actually, against the Weavile, because he didn't click Ice Shard. Drapion, again, was another mon designed to sort of beat Cresselia. I was Lumberry in case he would burn me with, like, Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat was a big problem for the team, and then Clefable was kind of just there, and it did pretty much nothing. Pretty much nothing, I think, actually, because it got Poison Jabbed by the Weavile, from what I remember. Week 2, we took on Brett, and this was a winnable game where I ended up getting like burn stalled out by Gourgeist. I didn't prep well enough for Gourgeist. I wasn't expecting it for whatever reason, which is really strange because it did just wall my entire team. What I probably should have brought like special Heatmore or something better to deal with the Gourgeist, but Scarf Salamence was actually kind of a big threat against his team. Jirachi was a complete waste of space that game. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I ended up having to bring like defensive Jirachi a lot of the time. This Drapion ended up being clutch against both Megazam and Hoopa Unbound. Really solid Pokemon there. Mega Lopunny could have done more, but it unfortunately didn't. Clefable, waste of space, and Raikou was a strange set that I decided to be that like didn't beat Zeraora at all, and it was like to Toxic Zeraora. It was super weird. I don't know what my game plan was there. It was really bad. Then we took on Gremlin, and I got bopped by Buzzwole. Just walled the shit out of me. Walled the shit out of Mega Lopunny. It was not a fun matchup. I think I took like 2 kills out of this. Banded Jirachi was actually quite a threat against his team, and I switched that up in finals because I thought that he would prep for Banded Jirachi, and he did. He brought the Incineroar instead, which was a big problem. And Incineroar is obviously the thing that ended up living on 1% in our finals match, so I probably could have prepped a little bit better in the finals match, but in this match I think I prepped maybe to the best of my ability. Mamoswine is just such a problem too. He didn't bring Gligar either time. I'm kind of surprised about that. It could have done something, but obviously didn't do anything. It forced a little bit of ice coverage from me. That's about it. Ice coverage where I may have had ground coverage or fighting coverage for the Staka, which caused Staka to be a bigger problem. I also could have come up with something better than this Power Punch, like than this Lopunny set in particular. I probably could have been like Power Punch Last Resort or something, and it might have done something. Obviously, Stack Attack being a problem, but maybe a high jump kick set or a subset, sub toxic instead for the Buzzwole. The Buzzwole was just such a problem. Week 4. Did we play week 4? Yeah, we played Spanic. I hacked him with the Heatmore. With Thunder Punch, I got a Thunder Punch para. That was a really fun set to use. Garchomp was on the team finally. I'm not sure what else even happened to this match. I think Mega Lopunny won. It's pretty irrelevant. My week 4 match was pretty irrelevant. Spanic dropped the league right after playing this game. And unfortunately dropped Mandibuzz, or his replacement dropped Mandibuzz, because that is going to come back to bite me in like week 8 or week 9 or whatever. Dolphin, we didn't end up playing. So I built a team for Dolphin, and I'm not going to play him in a friendly, so let's just run through the team for Dolphin. I brought like a Roar, like a defensive Blastoise meant to take on the Mega Glade. It was kind of meant to take on the Excadrill, and it forced him to bring Giga Drain on the Volcarona, because I could just roar it out. It was kind of meant for like a Belly Drum Slurpuff as well. I brought a mixed defensive Clefable, Unaware Clef, also for the same things like Mega Glade and whatnot. Shuka Raikou, which was like my only way to beat Excadrill. Excadrill was such a problem against my team. Like, it honestly just pile drived everything. And so I was really happy I didn't end up playing him in playoffs, because this would have been a really tough matchup. And honestly, getting the FF one out of this is probably like one of the best case scenarios that I had for the outcome of this match. It ended up giving me a win and +3 differential, which is super clutch at this stage of the season, when it honestly, this might have been the difference maker between making first place and not making first place as well. It was just so ridiculous how well Excadrill broke through me. I had absolutely nothing for it, and I wasn't going to bring my ground resist in Braviary. So I had the idea, right, is that I'm Shuka, and then I get up a Reflect, or that I'm Shuka, and I get off a Rash or a Sphere, and try and kill the Excadrill, or at least put it in range of priority for Mega Lopunny, was the idea. Plus, no, what? Oh yeah, Sandveil was banned, so I couldn't use Sandveil. Alright, I don't understand Sandveil and Snowcloak being banned. Like, I get why you would do it, right? Evasion is whatever. Evasion boosting is one thing, but relying on weather as your evasion strat is another thing entirely. You can prep around that, and I think if you can prep around something, besides Omni Boosts, which are completely broken, then it should be allowed for the most part. King's Shield Aegislash is another thing that I kind of have a problem with. Allowing my own league, at least, I can't justify King's Shield on Aegislash in my own league, just because it's a really broken move. It's a really broken move, and you can't Toxic Aegislash because it's a fucking Steel type. So that's kind of where things go a little bit haywire. I brought a offensive Mega Lopunny, sub Mega Lop. AV Golurk, there's some reason that I had this specific investment, but I don't remember why. It was probably meant to deal with Volcarona, given that I had Rock Slide on the set. And then Z, sub SD, Z Chomp, which is actually super solid against his team. He definitely struggled against the sub SD Chomp. As long as I could SD on the proper things. So mons like Chansey, for example. One really annoying thing about Chansey at level 50 is that it's doing 50 damage with Seismic Toss. So you have to be able to hit 200 HP. You have to have like a higher HP stat than Garchomp to hit that. Well, naturally, I should say, because you can hit it. Like, I could have hit 201 with some investment, right? But then that takes away from my offense, so it wasn't worthwhile putting on that Chomp. But yeah, that's kind of irrelevant. I just wanted to maybe run through the team a little bit, because I never posted a team builder for that. It's recorded, but I never posted it because I didn't play him. And I thought I might play him in playoffs there. Will, we smashed Will, I think. I don't think this one was close at all, was it? Yeah, nice 5-0. This was a pretty easy match, just because I sort of had a good game plan going into it. It was kind of designed around like Chomp going in, and I think I ended up Yeah, he didn't have a ground type on his team. There's no ground type, so Specs Raikou was really free. I can't remember everything that happened this game. It was weird to me that Parasect came. I remember Raikou didn't get very many kills. I feel like it was Lopunny that got a bunch of them. For whatever reason, I feel like it was Lopunny. Maybe Lopunny Braviary got a lot of them for whatever reason. I can't remember anymore. Um, yeah, I'm blanking on this game, but I remember it not being super stressful. Week 7, we took on Blood. This was a really fun game. I think I played really well this match. I played really well around hazard stacking him against his team, where he brought a lot of hazard weak mons, and he didn't play around removing hazards very well. I had Rapid Spin, Blastoise, and that's kind of what I did in. I think that was kind of a successful part of this team, is that I was able to bring a reliable spinner in Blastoise. I was able to check like spin blockers, ghost types with Mega Lopunny really effectively as well. Um, and Chandler later on, but Drapion and Golurk, like I threatened out ghost types really well, so spin blockers were kind of irrelevant, and I had a really reliable spinner in the Blastoise, as well as good hazard stack with Roserade plus Chomp plus Jirachi or whatever with rocks. Obviously, I was stomping Tantrum Chomp, which was prepped for the grassy terrain, but Bulu Lucha didn't even come. I don't remember a lot of this game. I think I pressured really well with Roserade with spikes, and then Braviary just put in a lot of work. My Jirachi set was completely wasted. I was a Grassy Seed Jirachi set, which was designed to be my Halucha check in terrain with Psychic and just throwing off future sights and whatnot, but Sneasel ended up coming, so it was kind of irrelevant. That was a fun game, though. I remember that being pretty fun. The next week, we took on Sacred. Okay, so this is where the Mandibuzz comes back again. I won this game because I I froze the Sylveon with my Golurk. Man, this was so unfortunate because it could have been so much better for me if that Sylveon wasn't physically defensive. I'd EV'd myself into a range where Heavy Slam was going to OHKO a Spadef Sylveon, and I didn't think that he'd be Fizdef Sylveon because it makes more sense to just be Fizdef Mandibuzz. So like maybe even offensive Sylveon would have had a better matchup there. So it was super weird to me that he was Fizdef Sylveon when basically all of my physically offensive Pokemon would have been able to deal with it anyways. You know, he's going to get two-shot by Lopunny regardless. If I was Adamant Lopunny, which I believe I could not have been because of Dugtrio, but potentially in other situations. I brought like a Shed Shell Jirachi. I thought I could play well around it, but I did end up playing well around it late game with the Braviary and Mega Lopunny. Encoring the Mandibuzz in a foul play was really clutch for me to be able to deal with that with Drain Punch, getting the recovery back. So it was a well-played endgame despite the freeze on the Sylveon basically getting me most of that win. Week 9, we didn't play Arky. Arky ended up FFing to me again, so I did get 2 FF wins, like I mentioned. My scheduling is really good. I'm not going to like sugarcoat that. I schedule well, and I schedule in a way that'll get me an FF win if I have to, or it'll get people to show up to the fucking match on time. And unfortunately, Arky missed like 3 different times, so... once again, big ups to him for trading me Chomp over Salamence. He could afford it. Obviously, he had an extra point, and Salamence was more expensive than Garchomp, so it was just a 1-for-1, and they both ended up being Z users on their respective teams. I didn't want to play against the Lele team anyways, so like whatever. This is another match that I built for and had a whole team builder for. I was Kasibberry Golurk, meant to check the Gengar in particular, as well as the Lele. Could tank a Shadow Ball from both of them, or potentially the slow Bro. It was a super solid mon. I liked the matchup it had. Mega Lopunny went kind of in on a lot of stuff, and I couldn't think of a last move to put, so I put Facade just in case he burnt me with like Slowbro Scald or Weezing Will-O-Wisp, because I figured Weezing was probably going to be his best way to check the Mega Lopunny. This was an interesting matchup in the sense that a lot of his defense lost to Mega Lopunny, bar the Weezing, and a lot of his offense lost to Mega Lopunny as well. AV Jirachi must have been for the Lele, just to tank like Shadow Balls and whatnot. This was the first game I believe I had Chandelure for. And so I brought another Kasibberry set. I brought double Kasib for the Gengar, just to be able to kill it. Raikou was a sub-calm mindset, which was solid. Obviously, we'll see the extrasensory come back in my week 11 match and my semifinals match against the other Nido. This is Nido King, but I brought it against Nido Queen. And then Chomp was another Z set. So a couple of matches where Chomp could have gone absolutely in with Z sets, and I didn't get to play them. Week 10, we played Brandon. Now, this was a closer match than it probably should have been, just because I sort of under-prepped for the Tang growth in particular, but we played pretty well at the end of the game, and I was happy with how well Choice Specs Chandelure just like broke through stuff. It was really difficult. There's the normal type was Spinda. There's no chance Spinda was coming. So and Alolan Muck got whittled down by something. Got whittled down or killed by something. Oh, it got burnt by Scald on my Blastoise, and it got whittled down really quickly. Groundium Z Chomp was really solid. I should have blown Groundium on the Aegislash. I kind of choked away the endgame, and I should have just blown Groundium on the Aegislash, predicting the King Shield or whatever, just for the damage, because I could have just won right there. I think I would have saved at least one differential point, if not two. But Scarf Golurk ended up coming in clutch and cleaning up the Mega Medicham late game. That was hilarious that Scarf Golurk ended up winning me a game. Week 11, we did take on Ellie, which was actually during week 12. It was pretty similar to my semis build. I didn't really change much, but Banded Golurk got 5 kills. That's really all you need to know about that game. It was played really late. Obviously, you can see the week was April 22nd and 28th, and we played it on May 4th. Yeah, it was more of a body bag than the semis match was. Week 12, I was taking it seriously against Moki because I was gunning for the bye, and we got the bye. Moki brought a really offensive team. His team is stupid slow, and he didn't even bring Scarf Victini. He baited me with Scarf Victini and took some differential off of me. He was Specs Victini the entire time, and I could have just stayed in with Lopunny and blown him back because I was adamant Mega Lop. This was another match where something did something. My Chandelure ended up being like pretty bad, but it was a nice way to like block the Blue Flare at least from Victini. I was playing really well up to the point where I predicted him to double after my Chandelure had got the Flash Fire on it, and I doubled into my Jirachi, which is really clutch against something like the Blissey, and he ended up staying in and blue flaring again, which just killed me, so that was quite unfortunate. It was the last game Braviary came to, by the way. It was a nice bulk upset, which didn't end up doing anything against anything, because Celesteela existed. Then we take it to semis, and we took on Ellie again. I brought a very similar team. This was kind of another body bag. It was in a position where I changed the Raikou set, and it was a lot better. AV Raikou was a lot better. I ended up handling the Torn and the Koko a lot better than I would have been able to before. The Mega Scissor still didn't show up. The Seismitoad didn't show up this time, so HP Grass was worthless. It could have been HP Ice, but I still had the extra sensory for the Nidoqueen. It was the same Nidoqueen set. She brought a very similar build to the one before, but Signal Beam ended up helping out quite a bit against the Superior, because this was my SERP check as well. I swapped out the Golurk for Specs Shandy, and Specs Shandy did about the same as what a Banded Golurk would have done to that team. It just, like, choice ghosts against no normal just was wild. And then in finals, which I actually just played earlier today, we had a really nice match against Gremlin. Came down to me trying to hack him with Scarf Jirachi. If we sort of like run through the builds here, there's no Jirachi there. I'll start at the beginning, right? Defensive Jirachi, so that's 1 defensive. 2 defensive. In week 2 I brought defensive. Week 3 I brought Banded, so like 1 offensive. Then it didn't come until week 6, where I brought a defensive set again. Week 7, I brought another defensive one. Week 8, I brought a slightly offensive, but it was Shed Shell, so still no Scarf though. I brought a defensive set against Arky. And then it didn't show up again until Moki, where it was also defensive. So this was actually the first and only time that I brought Scarf Jirachi the entire season. So I didn't feel super bad about trying to hacks then, because I didn't roll with this strat basically at all the entire season. So it was kind of a more unique strat to bring out in the finals. It didn't end up doing as much as I wanted to. Blastoise, I actually ended up speed tying his Mamoswine because I just threw like a chunk of speed into Blastoise. I probably could have invested more. Again, I'm not entirely sure about Mirror Coat mechanics, but I talked in the battle about being able to Mirror Coat the Megalodios potentially. Clefable was garbage. Golurk didn't do enough against the Stakataka. This was kind of a failing match for the Golurk HP flying was just a big waste because Buzzwole didn't show up. Rose Red getting up a T-Spike was clutch. Clefable getting up Rocks was clutch. I guess there's that. And then Chandelure, I managed to trick a Scarf onto the Necrozma, and that was about it. So that was all the matches. And then the last sort of thing I had to talk about that I always go through is sort of the kill leaders and if I'll use them again or not. So I've sorted this now, and you guys can see this has got all my stats from WPL on it and whatnot as well. So Mimikyu still sitting up there with 91 kills. Second place is Darm at 52. Like, I think that says something. Definitely says something about how much I use Mimikyu. I have 2 champions. You guys can't see it on the side here, but I have 2 titles with Mimikyu as well. I have 3 titles total, by the way. I know I mentioned in the team builder, oh, I'm going for my 4th title. I have 3 titles. UPBA Season 1, MWPA Season 5, and Spragrail, which was a Little Cup League. I gave myself a title for that. I was the only person active in that league at semifinals, and so I just gave myself a win there. I probably would have won that league anyways. I've got the stats on this doc, and you might see it a little bit lower down, but Archon was just a beast. I had Archon and Abra on the same team. It was really difficult to beat the offense of that squad. So first Mon on the kills here that was on this team with me was Megalopony. This is only the 2nd time I've used it, and it jumped up in a tie with Infernape in the top 10. It's 10th in the top 10, I believe. No, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th. It's 9th in the top 10, right above Kieran Black. So this is all kind of like Mons that you might expect to be up here. Probably not the Zapdos. You probably wouldn't expect Zapdos to be up here, but I've used Zapdos. Well, I haven't used it that many times, as you guys can see. It's only 4 leagues that I've used Zapdos in, but it's come to a lot of games. 47 games compared to Mimikyu's 52. Like, this is the 2nd most games I brought anything to a game. Sylveon is like lower down, I think. Here it is, yeah, 35. Donphan I brought to a lot of games, 40. But not a lot competes with Mimikyu in terms of usage. It's like Zapdos, Celesteela is the main things. But Lopunny, 27 and 9. Like, this is really solid. This is really solid for 21 games. It has barely died. This also tells me that I win a lot with Megalopony if it's only dying 21 times, and who knows how many games I've won where it's actually died in that game. Probably not a lot, but that's what, 12? I think that's 12 games at the very least that I've won with Megalopony, just based on that. Yeah, let's assume I lose all of the 9, then 12 and 9, I think. Roserade, 22 kills now, 3 passive kills in 22 games, so it's a kill a game. Bond, really solid. I would definitely draft Roserade again. I've used it a few times. I won a title with it in MWPA. Garchomp is up to 21 and 22 in 31 games. It's really consistent in terms of what it does. I've enjoyed using it, and for the red season recap, I'll have the red stats updated on this as well. Braviary is up to 17 and 7 in 16 games, so still at a kill a game, and it's not even dying in half of them. I really have loved using Braviary, and it's crazy to me that it's up this high on my kills list. We scroll down a little bit more, and we see Golurk, 11 and 3. 11 and 3 in 6 games. I only used it in 1 game in the other season that I had this. So it went 11 and 2 in 5 games overall, which was just the finals match, I guess, added to the regular season stats. Super solid Mon, definitely would draft Golurk again. It's really fun to use. Jirachi, 10 and 14 now in 17 games. Not the biggest Jirachi fan. Overall, I like other steals better. Like, I know it can be a threat with like flinching bullshit, and it's kind of versatile, but I would prefer Mew as a versatile Pokemon because it doesn't really offer what a defensive steal does to me. Maybe it's the psychic typing that doesn't help it all that much, but like it really feels like it doesn't have the qualities of a Celesteela, which I would classify as a defensive steal to me. Chandelure, 9 and 5 in 10 games. I haven't used it since D&D, which was a really long time ago, but I enjoyed using Chandelure when I had it for the brief moment. Blastoise I really enjoyed. This is the first season I ever used Blastoise. I went 5 and 6, 3 passive deaths, so it showed you that I'd ate a lot of Toxics, just like my Zapdos did last season of PTL. Still almost a kill a game, which is kind of crazy. Drapion I enjoyed. Again, WPL, PTL. I don't know. There's not much to say about Drapion, really. Raikou, this is the first season I drafted it. It went 4 and 2 in 5 games. Pretty average. Not my favorite Fast Electric. I'd prefer a Jolteon over it. Or any other electric, I guess. I don't know. I really like Thundy T. I hate Thundy I. I really hate using Thundy I, but I like Thundy T. And so maybe Thundy T is something I'd prefer over that. Clefable 2 and 6 in 6 games, or 3 and 6, sorry, in 6 games. I did not enjoy Clefable at all. And then Heatmore was last, which was 1 and 1 in 1 game. So I'm not sure I would draft Clefable again necessarily all that often. It's obviously a good fairy, but I didn't like it super much. Maybe not. Maybe not with the Clefable. But that's in terms of the kill leaders then. So I'm just going to go back to the doc and let's talk a little bit about some of the reasons why I'm not returning, just to finish off this video here. So I like a lot of the players in this league. I have a lot of respect for the management team as a whole, but there are some flaws, and sort of I'll talk about the beginning here. So my good pal Shade, I'm with him all the way on this. He sort of got ousted from his position as admin. I'm not entirely sure what to think about that. There was a lot of poor decision making going on that he was trying to fight against, and it's not really my place to sort of go into more depth than that. I don't think, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, the admins are doing a bad job, because they're not. They're running a 3-division league, and it's ending seasons. So that's what I would consider a successful season, is when a season finishes. Some of those decisions are being remade over and over again. And that's something that I've confirmed is happening in Season 3. King Bubba's back, and that's really sad for me to hear. This man's dropped the league twice already. He's drafted and then dropped the league twice. And to hear that he's coming back for a 3rd season, I have no faith. Like, I don't care what extenuating circumstances he has. He's done it twice. That's consistency. If he does it a 3rd time, it's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I don't know what fool me 3 times is, but it's not good. I don't understand that logic. That logic's just really weird to me. That allowing someone back that has consistently let you down is just really strange to me. It's really strange. Another thing is Ellie and her comeback. So I'm obviously not mad about it after the fact, because I just wiped the floor with her twice. But she obviously, earlier on in the season, I mentioned I wasn't sure if we'd be playing her or not. She was disqualified. She ended up getting a sub to play 3 of her matches. I completely understand the circumstances behind that. Again, it's not my place to talk about her personal life at all, but I understood why she was getting a sub, and then she came back, and that was really weird to me, because she'd been DQ'd, and they'd announced that she was going to be subbed in for until the end of the season, and that she wouldn't be making playoffs, but then she was allowed back and made playoffs. What was really sketchy to me about that is that I felt like I was on track to win the bye anyways, and so she was in a position where she could, if she beat me, she could take my bye away from me, and I was not happy about that. It's a really strange situation. Again, the decision making behind that's not, like, I like Gray as a person, but his decision making is questionable to me. Some of the rules, some of the pricing, and the arguments that I was getting against my pricing adjustments that I was trying to throw out there was really weird. Like, I have a lot of league experience. Like, I've been doing this for almost 2 years. I've got a lot of experience with leagues. Like, I don't know how well I can show this. Because I'm not sure if red's going to show up in my records thing or not, but obviously you can see all the Pokemon that I've ever drafted. I've drafted, what is this, 250 minus 2. I've drafted 248 Pokemon, and I've played in a bunch of leagues that you can see all throughout this document in particular. I've got a good basis for what works and what doesn't. Man, just trusting the process is something that people just don't seem to do. So that was a big thing with Ellie, and that's one of the reasons I'm not coming back. As well, like I mentioned at the beginning, they draft really quickly. I'm not about drafting a team and then waiting a month to use that team. I didn't enjoy that twice. I've done that twice. I didn't enjoy it. I'm not doing that a 3rd time. There's no chance in hell. It's too eager for me. It's really too eager for me. I would have preferred to take at least a little break and then maybe take like a month break and start up again after that. I probably would have been more motivated to come back, and I would have had less leagues to worry about if that was the case. So that's kind of the main reason why I'm not returning, because obviously I would have loved to play in D1 and play against all the guys that I was initially trying to fight at the beginning. Um, it's finally down to a spot where I can say that the player number is probably not going to be the problem. Last season was a big issue. Um, and this season, I guess, actually as well. It was 48 coaches both seasons. Last season, my big problem was the playoff structure, which I didn't buy into at all. This playoff structure was wildly improved. This playoff structure was a proper playoff structure. The biggest problem was drops, and so basically post week 7, there were a lot of admins subbing in for people. I don't agree with. I think maybe post week 9 you do that. Post week 7 you probably get someone to come in and take over the team. Because they're still in a position where most teams can make playoffs at that point, and you're still within the transaction window, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. I also probably would have preferred a different transaction system. This isn't necessarily a big thing. Something I believe in my time running a league is that putting a limit on numbers of transactions that you can make in a single week is maybe not the best thing to go about it. But enough of the negatives. I really enjoyed my time in PTL. In terms of my battles, if you count my records for both seasons, I was 11-4 plus 20 in season 1, and then I was 11-3 plus 21 in season 2. So I went 22-7 plus 43. Yeah, pretty successful in the bottom 2 divisions, obviously, but I played against a lot of the same competition in both seasons. We played Gremlin both seasons. We played Brett both seasons. We played Moki both seasons. Joey was in our division both seasons. I guess that was it, actually. A few of these coaches got demoted from D1 last season, but not all of them. A lot of us promoted up from D3 last season into the existing D2 because D3 last season was a lot more competitive than last season's D2. Now, I'm not sure if there's more that I need to touch on. I feel like I've been blabbering on for a while. This is about 52 minutes now, so I don't think I have anything more to touch on. I sort of touched on everything that I wanted to get across. Again, absolutely no negatives. I'm leaving with a heavy heart. I would have loved to return. If some things were going to be changed, or maybe if my opinion, maybe it was taken into account a little bit more, which sounds really self-centered, and it probably is. I just feel like I have a better base with this, and I probably would have fought, or at least asked if I could be an admin or on the admin team, because I have a lot of experience running my own league, which is in the middle of 4 seasons now. I've got a good base for what should go into a league and maybe some of the decision-making processes behind it. I think PTL started out in a way that was maybe meant to fail, and it's sort of bypassed that and is becoming a successful league now. So I wish all the best to everyone else. I have no intentions of ever returning to this league, but you never know. Maybe my mind will change when Gen 8 comes out. Who knows? I hope that they fix their pricing structure though. That's sort of about it. So I'll bid adieu to PTL. I wish everyone the best. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this season of the PTL. Unfortunately, we're walking away with 2nd place, but that's better than walking away with 3rd. And I'll catch you guys for my next seasons.